What happens at laser tag never stays at laser tag.
Laser Unfocused Tag Talk.
Laser Unfocused Tag Talk.
I feel like you could be like in Ghostbusters or something.
Oh my God, you have got some stories.
Let's talk about laser tag.
Who knew you were a laser tag legend?
Time to get laser unfocused. Tag Talk with Tivia.
Welcome to Laser Unfocused Tag Talk. Hi, I'm Tivia. As 2025 comes to a close, I'm reflecting back on a few of the laser tag experiences that I've been part of in the last year. So every year around this time, I typically write a blog article recapping some of the top 10 laser tag highlights of the past year. And 2025 was definitely another year full of awesome laser tag adventures. If you've been reading my blog right along with me, you've experienced this adventure with me, but I would like to take this episode of the podcast just to kind of reflect on it at the year's end and look back on some of those experiences with you, maybe tell you a few of the stories of some of the things that happened to me in 2025. Now, one of the things that really kind of kicked off the year, early in the year, somehow I found myself being part of a team to plan the Laser Tag Summit. And that was an educational track that took place during the Amusement Expo International in Las Vegas. There was a small group of us, and we ended up organizing 3 panels of laser tag specific education to help operators. So that was really a privilege to be able to put together. I was a moderator and a panelist, and we were really pleased to be able to share some awesome content, including laser tag off-peak marketing ideas to maximize revenue. That was one where I was joined by a couple of the ladies from Trainertainment, and we were talking about different marketing ideas, different creative ways to get your messaging out. And so I really enjoyed being part of being able to do something that was kind of right in my wheelhouse because marketing is what I do. Numbers don't lie. Where is laser tag trending? This was one that the guys took over and, really played it by the numbers and kind of just gave an overview of where is the industry. Laser tag anchor versus afterthought. Now, this is another one that was really kind of fun to do because I was able to join some friends. It was moderated by Russ Van Natta from Creative Works, and I was a panelist alongside Caleb Bitar, who's an operator from Utah, and we just kind of reflected on different ways that you can really spotlight your laser tag and make it more of an attraction that really is the anchor to whatever it is you're doing with your business. Now, if you missed it and you want to see for yourself, I turned each one of these panels into a Laser Unfocused Tag Talk podcast episode. So the videos remain publicly available as a resource for laser tag operators, and you can find them right here on the podcast channel. So that was really kind of a cool way to start things off early in the year. During that same trip, actually right before I got to Las Vegas, I played my 600th laser tag arena early on. And this happened after a friend of mine and a tournament teammate, Noah Kim, became the new owner of Ultrazone Portland in Oregon. So I chose this to be my milestone number arena, number 600. Now, I just want to say, Noah really has a stunning crystal-themed arena. This place is tournament ready. I know that because I played in his very first tournament that he hosted later in the year. And he's made some really stunning improvements with lighting and effects. And knowing from a player standpoint what grabs attention, I really think makes a big difference. So having a new operator in the field who also comes at it from that player experience was kind of cool. And I just loved that I was able to go out and support the new venture that my friend was working on. And as a side note, my personal arena count is currently sitting at 668. So right before Expo last year, I hit 600. Will I hit 700 before Expo this coming year? Well, we'll see. But that's definitely a goal. So I'm coming up on another milestone number soon, and that will hopefully be one of my highlights of 2026. Another one of the things that I was pleased to be working on was continuing my efforts to showcase the museum collection, both in person and virtually. And I want to address this because I've had a lot of questions about it. So I acquired the items from the Laser Tag Museum personally about 2 years ago, and they are safe, they are being preserved, and right now, the best way that I feel I can share them is online. So I have spent the last 2 years rebuilding the website lasertagmuseum.com to be a refreshed digital archive for the collection, and that's how I view it now. It is a collection, it is still a work in progress, and I am continuing to add new photos, videos, new content that has never been shared before. It's an ongoing process. It is a journey, not a destination. But one of the things that I was really really pleased to be continuing on with this year was including weekly spotlight features called Museum Collection Monday, which I post online, and you can also find on my TiviaChickLovesLaserTag.com website. I've also continued to take small displays on the road with me, both in physical and virtual formats. So the virtual was new this year. I had hosted last year 2 in-person displays at events in Pennsylvania and Ohio. And in 2025, I started by taking an in-person display to the East Coast tournament that was held at the Fun Warehouse in Syracuse, New York. And this provided some new opportunities for people to see artifacts from the collection that might not have been in their purview before. So some in-person things have been cool to do. But also this past year, I started doing virtual displays. And I took a virtual display to events in both Oregon and Indiana. And so that was new, and just trying to come up with different ways to showcase this. The circumstances are different now, but my objective for keeping this collection safe is simply to continue sharing the history of laser tag and making it available to as wide an audience as I can. And in many ways, I really feel like this is the best way that I can accomplish that now. So more in person, but also the virtual was one of the new things for 2025. So I plan to continue to make that collection viewable and keep that history alive. One thing that was kind of exciting for me was I always love to play new laser tag systems, and I love to play before anybody else. So I got to play 2 new versions of laser tag systems almost before anybody else did. I was among the very first players in the United States who got a chance to play Zone's Helios 3. Now, as soon as I heard that it was installed, I flew down to Sterling, Virginia to play the very first weekend that it was installed anywhere in the United States, and that was at UltraZone Loudon, which is a facility that happens to be owned by the president of Zone USA, Simon Willits. And so that was a good time. Simon was out there. Some of the staff were joining, but it was public games that I got to play in. But I think I was the only one who really recognized that this was special because it was the very first place and the very first weekend that Helios 3 was available anywhere. So I got to kind of just be like a fly on the wall listening as players were seeing, oh, well, this is different than what I played last week, and, see how they took to that. Later in the year, I also had a very cool experience that turned out to be even cooler because it was sort of a surprise for everybody involved. I had gathered up my plausible deniability team members to join me for some Gel Blaster Nexus Gen 2 laser tag. And we found it at a newly opened facility called Funtastic Adventure Park in Victor, New York. Now, at the time that we played, we actually didn't realize how special this was, but it turned out to be one of the very, very few arenas that got the system installed prior to IAPA. So I had seen a little something about it and just said, this will be fun and this is nearby and let's just go out and play. I didn't know until I got there that they were running the Gen 2. So that was definitely cool, and it was a first, and I had lots of questions going into IAPA. But probably the most fun surprise about that was when I shared with the Gel Blaster CEO, Colin Gwynn, that I had actually played Gen 2 before the show. He genuinely didn't believe me until he saw the photos on my blog. And it's like, oh, okay, that really was a very, very early experience because they were essentially debuting it at the show. So from there, I got to have some interesting experiences trying it out, trying some of the new things, and just nice to surprise somebody with the fact that I'd already played their system. One thing that I had a great time with somewhere in and around August, I think it was, is I played some quick bursts of mini laser tag games with a few celebrities, which was fun. Ming Chen, who you might recognize from the Comic Book Men, Robbie Rist, who's been in all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies from the 90s, and Brian Posehn of The Big Bang Theory. They were all at an event together, and so was I. And I got to tell you, I was absolutely amazed when the event allowed me to bring in a home market laser tag set. So we got to play short game bursts at each of their respective booths, and that was so much fun. And it turned out when I walked up to Ming Chen, actually he walked up to me first, and we got a conversation started, and turns out he is legitimately a laser tag fan. Like, he was pulling out names of things from his youth. He was asking me very specific questions about different things like Worlds of Wonder, and he remembered Qzar. So, I mean, he's legit. He knew laser tag, and it was awesome that just a short time after we met, Ming Chen went on to appear as a guest on this podcast right here. So I got to interview him about all things laser tag from his past, and that was amazing. And something else that was really kind of cool out of that experience, Robbie Rist was one of the influential voices from my past, and you could know him from a number of different things. He was actually Cousin Oliver in the Brady Bunch. He was part of Kid Video. He's been in so many different animation projects, and probably the thing that most people associate him with is being one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But definitely one of the influential voices from my past. And he had serenaded me on video with a rendition of Video to Radio that I really am connecting with now in a much deeper way after having the experience of actually getting to trade some laser tags with Robbie Rist. 2025 also marked a big first with my Tag for a Cause. As you probably know, I do a lot of events to raise funds for good causes and things that I believe in. And so this was actually the year of my very first coast-to-coast Tag for a Cause, and it was to support the Alzheimer's Association. Now, I've worked with them before, and it began with a fundraiser that we held at the Fun Warehouse in Syracuse, New York, and that went very well. And we had representatives from the Alzheimer's Association local office out with us. And then 2 weeks later, I concluded it with a second event that was held at Ultrazone Portland in Oregon. So coast to coast, this was literally the very first time that I'd hosted Tag for a Cause on each coast in support of one great cause, even though I have come pretty close before because I have done some things on both sides or different parts of the country. But coast to coast was something that I really wanted to achieve. And so that was cool to be able to be in New York, then in Oregon, and both times supporting the Alzheimer's Association with something that really made a difference. We also did some other Tag for a Cause events throughout the year. At other times, we did events to benefit A Path for Paws Dog Rescue. We did that at Battle Blast Laser Tag in Las Vegas, Nevada. And then there was another event that we held to support the Epilepsy Foundation during a tournament that was held at Skyway Laser Storm in Warren, Ohio. And I just want to give a shout out also to the industry press that has given us great coverage, and also with the event to support the Epilepsy Foundation. When I recapped with them afterwards, they were so delighted they actually put coverage of our laser tag event in their community magazine, which is called Foundation Quarterly. So it's just in the last couple of weeks that I found out about that and saw it published. And so really nice because, you know, we support them, but then by them showcasing us in their magazine, it really showed that they, you know, really appreciated and supported what we were doing to make that happen. So Tag for a Cause is going to continue into next year for sure. I already have some plans in the works, and I'm excited about that. So did some good things this year with that. One of the events that I was really excited to be a part of was celebrating the 30th anniversary of Ultrazone Fort Wayne. Now that's out in Indiana, and this is a really special site. This is a standalone legacy laser tag arena, and that right there in and of itself makes it special. But the fact that they've operated for 30 years is a really rare and special accomplishment, and I was definitely delighted to be there for the celebration. Why this place is particularly special to me, it's been part of my journey since practically the very beginning. Now, I played one leg of my very first Armageddon there, so that was the first time I ever got to experience their arena, and it is a really unique and very good tournament site. Most of my first tournament team, in fact, if you remember all the way back to All About That Base and then changed the name to Ascendance, most of them were from that site. I do remember playing Battle for the Fort there in 2016. I've played there a couple of times for Battle for the Fort. I was on the 2019 team for that as well. But in 2016, I remember that marked the catalyst for my first major laser tag road trip. Well, one of the first ones that really took me to more expansive parts of the country. And that really was a big part of starting my epic adventure. And so I always kind of think of that site, Ultrazone Fort Wayne, as being a big part of my journey, really right since the beginning. And so it was very cool to go out and celebrate with them. I was delighted to be asked to contribute some laser tag history to the event. So this is one of the places where I took a virtual display from the museum collection. And owner Pat O'Connor was a wonderful host. He greeted me immediately as soon as I got there. Actually, one of my memories from getting there is I pulled into the parking lot And I hear a voice calling to me from across the way, across by the roadside. I hear this voice say, "Is that Tivia?" And I look up, and you have friends all over the place, and it's really kind of cool. But I see this mascot waving at me, saying "Tivia." And so it was really cool to see friends right off the bat. And then Pat was at the gate, the doorway, just greeting people as they were coming in. So he said hello immediately. And a short time later, Simon Willett showed up. I got to play my very first game of laser tag against Simon, so that was cool, and just something I was really pleased to get to be a part of. So celebrating some big anniversaries for different places is definitely something I hope that I get to continue. But a 30-year milestone for Ultrazone Fort Wayne, definitely very cool, and something I will remember. Just podcasting in general this year has been awesome. I celebrated 3 years of the Laser Unfocused Tag Talk podcast earlier this year. We had cake. We have cake for every milestone, and so I love to come up with excuses why we need to have cake. But my coworkers had that with me, and it was really kind of nice. Um, I also enjoyed appearing as a guest on the Creative Works Memory Makers podcast. So I got to join Russ Van Natta, and he interviewed me about all things laser tag, which was very cool. We also had some creative arena adventures this year, and some of that ended up on video, some of it ended up in the podcast. But just to give you an idea, I want to give my thanks definitely to the Fun Warehouse staff, who indulges just about every crazy idea that I have. And so this year I came up with a couple of doozies, and one was that I wanted to see if I could laser tag for 25 miles, exclusively counting only the miles from the games actually played in the arena. And I wanted to see if I could do this over the course of 2 days. Now, if you remember back to the very beginning of Tag for a Cause, I started this as sort of an alternative. It came right out of the time when we were just getting out of the pandemic, and a lot of great causes were turning their road races. They might have done a 5K or 10K group race in the past, and they weren't able to do that straight out of the pandemic. So a lot of things became virtual. So I started encouraging people to do 5Ks on your own inside the laser tag arena. Do a laser tag 5K. And so that was like the beginning of Tag for a Cause, came out of these challenges. I do a lot of power walking and distance walking. And so I wanted to bring that into laser tag. So that's what sort of made me think, well, okay, I know I could do 25 miles just walking around in life, but could I do 25 miles exclusively in laser tag games? And we made it happen. We did, and that is totally the support of the Fun Warehouse staff is how that even came about. Beans made a flyer, turned it into a little promotional event. It concluded during the Halloween party that they were holding. So 25 miles of laser tag in 2 days was an awesome thing that we did as we were just kind of coming up with creative things. So I also had this idea to get creative by filming some creative ways to incorporate pop culture into your laser tag arena. And we filmed pink versus green packs being used by fully costumed pink versus green witch against witch inspired theming. So you could tell which movie I was kind of pulling inspiration from there. And what was kind of interesting about that is I had invited Maddie from our team and from our site to be part of this with me. And I was dressed up in full Wicked Witch apparel, the hat, the gown, the whole thing. And I think it's pretty obvious whenever you see a witch, where the idea came from around Halloween time. What I didn't know was when I had asked her to throw on a pink sequin dress and pink bubble crown. In fact, by chance, I happen to have the bubble crown right here. I had no idea that this was a pop culture reference that she had no idea about. And so we kind of gave her a little bit of an education in pop culture at the same time. But she did a great job. We got some amazing footage out of that. And something that you're not going to see all the time is a couple of pink versus green witches running around and playing laser tag together. But we got that on film. And again, that was just, really, really cool to be able to incorporate. We also showcased how you can do other creative things like teal and orange packs could celebrate the Taylor Swift album drop, and how even bringing in the appearance of other characters. Like this time of year, maybe Santa makes an appearance at your arena. And shout out to Brendan, because that has actually happened. Oh, and then to round things out, I just want to give a shout out to IAPA. Now, heading to Orlando for IAPA in November is always one of my favorite ways to close out the year. And it's also a great chance to get a look at what I might get to start seeing in arenas in the coming year. So this was definitely the year of the vestless phaser, and most of the major laser tag companies now have a current vestless option in their lineup, which was cool to see. I interviewed representatives from all of the laser tag companies that were exhibiting at IAPA, and I got to do interviews with them. I got to see all the new gear, try it out, hear the stories, and you can check out what those interviews looked like. They are all on my 2025 adventures. You can find them at TiviaChickLovesLaserTag.com, but IAPA is always a great way to see what is new in laser tag, what's forthcoming, and get the earliest chance to try it out myself. So those are a few of the 2025 highlights that I wanted to share with you from this year. As I look ahead to 2026, there's no slowing down. I have some goals already in my head for what are going to be the next milestones that we hit. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been part of this journey so far. I just, according to the calendar, just hit the 11-year mark on writing my blog. As I say, we celebrated the podcast 3 years in the podcast earlier this year. My travels have not slowed down, well, not much anyway. And so I'm still continuing to go all over the country. I've even had some talks about maybe possibly exploring some other parts of the world. We'll see if that happens in 2026. But it's just been an amazing adventure. And every year, as I reflect back on what has happened, I never cease to be amazed. It just keeps on going. And I am so pleased to be part of a worldwide laser tag community. I literally have friends all over the world. And I'm glad to be able to share these adventures. And so to all of you who are part of our laser tag community, I just want to wish you a happy, zappy holiday season and a safe and prosperous new year in 2026. And thank you for being with me as I recap all my adventures from this past year. Thanks for checking out this episode of Laser Unfocused Tag Talk. Listen for more episodes on the first and third Friday of each month. Want to be a guest on an upcoming episode? Find out more and follow my blog and website at TiviaChickLovesLaserTag.com.